So it's been a while since I made some videos on this YouTube channel. And the reason why is because I took time off. I went on a spiritual journey. I went on this journey to unlearn some things that conflicted with the person who I am now. The person who I've always been, but felt like I couldn't speak out loud, had to hide who I was for fear that people would call me crazy, write me off as being a nut. And it didn't change. It still happened. But I'm at a place now where I accept who I am, and I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I really don't care what people think about it. So I had to unlearn a lot of family traditions and religious beliefs, and accept who I am as a light worker. And it's just a title, but it's something that people can identify as an earth angel, if you want to say that. Someone who has chosen to be on this earth to heal the earth, to help people using metaphysical gifts, spiritual gifts, whether it be psychic, whether it be healing, whether it be empath, premonitions to provide warnings, whether it be astral projecting to provide healing through that way as well. So over these last few years, I knew I had these gifts since I was in my teens, especially the visions. I always had visions. I always had sense and feel. I can feel things. I could sense things was happening, or things were around me, or things were bad. And when I would say these things, people would look at me like I was crazy. And then when it happened, they'd be like, "Oh my God, how did you know?" I wouldn't know how I knew. I just would know. And so I had to take a step back and say, okay, there has to be more to this story, because I go to church every Sunday, right? Then, and there's something here I'm not learning, because there's what I know. There's what I know, what I see, what I feel, what I sense, versus what I'm being told to believe. So something's being left out. And so I even graduating from a Christian college, Grand Canyon University, I still felt like there was still something being left out of the story. So one day I sat back and I said my last prayer, and I said, I want to know the truth. I want to know all of it, and I don't care how much it would hurt. I want to know everything. And it seemed like right after that day, everything that I needed to know just fell in my lap. It's like people that I needed to be around, images, you name it, seemed to just fell right in front of my face. The truth was just coming out of nowhere. And some people will say, well, that's the devil tempting you, that's the devil doing that. And then but the thing was is that I didn't feel like that. I felt like that was it. That was the truth. That I was being shown. I didn't feel tempted, or I didn't feel that it was something trying to throw me off my game. I finally started to feel normal. And so I went through that for about a year or so, maybe 2 years. And then I started teaching. As I was learning, I was teaching at the same time. I was learning African history, and then I started teaching African history. And the more I started doing that, I was able to help others understand how we were fooled into believing something that wasn't true, and why our self-esteem was so low, and why we feel that we can't do anything. And so then I started this past summer, I started feeling more so that my gifts were getting stronger, I guess I can say. And we met someone who she looked at me and she, asked me if I knew who I was, and the type of gifts I had. And so then, when she told me who I was, she told me I was a teacher, and I was really shocked because that's exactly who I am. That's exactly what I like to do. I like to teach, and people always told me I had a way of teaching for people to understand. I can break it down to I could break it down in such a way that it didn't go over their heads, right? And so when she told me that, I knew she had to be telling the truth, because how else would she know that about me? And I had stopped teaching the African spirituality for a while. And she said, you stopped teaching because something personal happened. And it was true, because I had fell out with someone close to me, and they were super religious, and because it conflicted with them, for me, I guess not to hurt their feelings, I kind of just backed off of it all. And she said, you're not going to be who you are until you fulfill your purpose, which is teaching what you know you're supposed to be teaching. And so I knew she was right. Don't know how she knew she was right, but she knew she was right. And I knew she was right. And so I immediately took that to heart. And the very next day, I went right back to teaching, but not necessarily African spirituality, but just spirituality in a sense, as a whole, right? And then she also, I eventually started feeling like there was more to me than just a teacher. So it has to be more to me than just that, because I had urges to do things that I didn't understand why, but I knew they were strong. I felt the need to heal people. I felt the need to heal people with my hands. When before, when people said they were sick, I would go on a computer, I would do a whole bunch of research and see if you can put, take this, take that, do these remedies. But now I'm having the urge to use my hands to do it, and I didn't understand why. And I would try to make my hands get hot. Like, I would literally sit there and do this, but I didn't know why I was doing these things. So, but I just had an urge. And then I had an urge to go in people's spaces and want to cleanse them. I want to get sage and ask them, do you feel any kind of way in here? And they would tell me how they feel. And I feel like I want to cleanse this space. And I'm like, why do I have this urge all of a sudden to want to do these things? It's like once I accepted who I was as a teacher, then all these other things just came about. Like, they just started hitting me out the blue. And so then I started doing more homework. And the more homework I did, the gifts started getting stronger and stronger. It's like the more I accepted who I was, the stronger the gifts got. And so from then to now, I went from just teaching to, my wife and I, we started making crystal wands. And I started healing people with crystal wands like a month later after she told me that. Started healing people with crystal wands, and people who couldn't feel their face, like, sensations. This woman, she was probably in her 60s, said she hadn't felt her face in many, many years. She finally got to feel her face again. And people in their sciatica pain start saying, my sciatica pain is gone. One lady, she still said hasn't came back yet. It's been months. And I'm like, how am I doing this, So I keep training, I keep practicing. And then I had a dream, and someone came to me, didn't see a face, just heard a voice, and said, I'm going to teach you step by step how to do this. And that's when I learned how angels work, how they really work. Angels and archangels, and working with your higher self, what working with your higher self really meant. And then I ended up working with dowsing rods, the copper dowsing rods. Now I work with pendulums. And then I started doing chakra alignments with dowsing rods. Started doing it with pendulums, remote distance chakra alignments. My wife had bought me a human body atlas, And so now I learned how to use the book and turn into a specific page of the person where they're hurting. I turn to that body part, whether it's muscle or nerves or whatever, and I use my pendulum to heal that person from distance. And these are things that in the summertime I would have never even thought about. But once accepting who I was, this information just seems to have downloaded into my brain like overnight. And so I know it might seem like I'm kind of rambling, but this is just how this spiritual journey has worked for me. And my wife is like the science behind all of this. She is proud of me embracing my gifts, and she has gifts too. She has a lot of gifts that manifested. She's now a medium as well. She gets visited by my grandmother. My grandmother's running around my house because I use my Dawson Ross to track her. And we have an angel portal in our room as well, which I'll show later on the channel. And my wife is a medium. She gets visits and she passes on those messages. And so, my kids have gifts, and they're happy that we. And the funny thing is, the kids had gifts, knew they had them, and didn't tell us until we asked. And then once we accepted who they were absolutely happy that we embraced who they were. And they do readings as well. They can read. One daughter can read your aura. One daughter can talk to your higher self. It's absolutely brilliant what they can do. And she's also a medium as well, 17. So all of our kids, including us adults, we're all empaths. I keep a list on my tablet, all the family members in the house, and then I go through asking, use my pendulum. Is this person this? Is this person that? And then I type in every gift each one of us has. And then if somebody has something that's blocked by chakra alignment, I check their chakras every couple of days. And then if their gifts are blocked because of chakra alignment, I'll realign them. So just wanted to come and talk about, I know it can be hard to talk about who you are, especially with family and friends who remember you one way, and now they see you talk about something totally different. They probably think you're crazy. But there's a whole community out here that understands you, that supports you, and will back you up. And don't expect them to get it. Just don't. Just don't expect them to get it. Just know that you're here on earth to do a job, and that's what you're supposed to do. Don't worry about how people feel about you. Just let it be. And the more you accept who you are and not worry about what everybody else think about you, your gifts will manifest stronger. And we ask for protection from our ancestors and from our angels and from our higher self. And when we do that, we'll be protected from anyone from the outside that try to influence our behavior of what we're doing, or try to, keep us from doing what we're supposed to be doing. Just, try to protect yourself and you'll be fine. Or ask, ask one of us to assist you in it and you'll be fine. Well, thank y'all for listening. I know this is pretty long, but I have a lot of videos I want to share. I have a lot of information I want to share. And hopefully someone will learn something from it. And we'll go from there. See y'all soon. Namaste.